Say good morning to all of you who have been waiting patiently in our waiting room this morning for the Columbus Chamber of Commerce's Columbus Delegation Legislative Wrap-Up. And we're so happy to be joined this morning by the Dean of the Delegation, Representative Calvin Smyre, and also members of the delegation who are able to join us this morning. And we want to welcome all of you. And on behalf of our more than 1,200 members, this is a very important webinar for us, because we want to bring to you front and center what has been happening in the COVID environment we're experiencing, but also what has happened in the remaining days of the legislative session as things were wrapped up. And so we'll get into that in just a moment, but first I want to introduce and welcome Pace Halter, our 2020 chair of the Greater Columbus, Georgia Chamber of Commerce. Good morning, Pace.
Thank you, Brian, and good morning, everyone. I appreciate everybody taking the time out of your day to join us for this wrap-up. Special thank you to all the members of the delegation for taking time to spend with us and give us a little bit of a recap. And also want to recognize the Columbus Mayor Skip Henderson. I saw him on just a second ago, so I appreciate him taking the time as well. This morning, I have a distinct privilege, both to the members of the delegation and to all of you listening, to introduce Gerald Mitchell. I'm sure many of you are aware, if not all of you, Gerald has been named as the incoming president and CEO of the Columbus Chamber. He's not quite on the job yet. He'll be here starting first part of September, but was kind enough to take some time out of his current job to spend a little bit of time with us this morning, meet all of you face to face, at least virtually. And I'd like to invite him to say a few words if you don't mind. So please help me welcome Gerald.
That little mute button, sorry about that. Good morning. I want to personally, again, thank everybody for being with us this morning. I am very excited about joining you all via this role and doing more good work in the Columbus area. We want to thank this delegation for their hard work in completing this session, especially considering these unprecedented times. And again, we just want to let you know that myself and the team really stand ready to continue to do good work with you. Thank you so much. And I'll turn it back over to Brian so that he can introduce Dean Smyre.
Thank you, Gerald. And we can't wait for you to join us in early September. Without any further ado, let me bring on and introduce our State Representative Calvin Smyre, business executive, state legislator, community and national leader. You all, most of you all on this call know Representative Smyre. His career path has taken him from being a community organizer to where he is today. We were kidding with him earlier that he is now 46 years as a legislative veteran. We said he started when he was 7 years old. Actually, he was 27 years old when he was first elected, and is now the dean of the Georgia General Assembly. But he also serves on some important roles, appropriations, rules, and also higher education. Representative Smyre is a distinguished legislative record, but more importantly, he's a friend of all of ours and a friend to Columbus. And Representative Smyre, I know you're going to introduce other members of the delegation who are on the call. We just want to thank you for taking your time to be with us this morning.
Thank you very much, Brian. I appreciate it. And I want to say hello to all of the members of the chamber that are on this call. And on behalf of the Columbus Legislative Delegation, we want to thank y'all for your partnership and for your collaboration. And want to thank also the Mayor of Columbus for being on the call, Mayor Skip Henderson. And we also welcome Gerald Mitchell. We've read a lot about him and we've worked with him regarding the Beltline in Atlanta. He comes as a distinguished public servant, and we're looking forward to his role here at our Columbus Chamber. The Columbus Chamber is one of the staples of our community, and we appreciate and looking forward to his leadership, and we congratulate those who had a hand in selecting him and bringing him to our great city. So again, Gerald, welcome, and we're delighted to have you. And on behalf of our members of our delegation, we're delighted to be here this morning. Two of our members, Senator Randy Robertson and Representative Van Smith, could not be with us this morning. They had prior commitments in LaGrange and other places, but we thank them for their service to the delegation and to the citizens of Columbus. And we're happy to be home, and well, some of us are at home, some of us are still out, but at the same time, we're delighted that the session has ended and we're all back home safely and back to our duties here in Columbus. And with that, I just wanted to say to the Chamber, this is our second time in the last few months of being together, and we're always delighted and receptive to these types of calls. So without further ado, I've asked the members of the legislative delegation to take 3 to 5 minutes and talk about issues that we were confronted with during the legislative session. And I can tell you, when we first went back to the legislative, we went back on the various protocols because of COVID-19. It was a very, very cumbersome process, and having members in different locations in the House, in the gallery, and in the Appropriations Committee. We had to do roll call votes on every vote, and it took a while for a bill to actually get called up and voted on in the chamber. And of course, we worked with the chair of the Rules Committee, Richard Smith, those of us who own the Rules Committee, to try to provide a calendar for the legislative day every day, and at the same time meet the protocols of the COVID-19, the pandemic that we've been dealing with. And I have to commend the Speaker Ralston and the House leader, both Republican and Democratic leadership, in coming together for the protocols and for providing a safety net for all us to be able to attend the legislative session wearing a mask and keeping our distance and trying our best to lead by example. So we're all delighted to be home and trying to encourage others to be safe and be vigilant as we try to flatten the curve and get through this pandemic and get back to some normalcy in our everyday lives. And so I want to thank members of our delegation. I've always said this, that we always work together, and we always, although we have our differences, we try to speak with one voice when it comes to issues that are facing Columbus, Georgia. So with that being said, I'm going to call on our members, and I'd like to start, and I'm going to do it alphabetically. And the first person up will be Debbie Buckner. And Debbie, the floor is yours, and we're looking forward to your comments.
Thank you, Dean Smyrie, and thank you to the Greater Columbus Chamber of Commerce for having us today to talk about what happened. The session started out with a little bit of fear and trepidation of what would happen in regards to COVID, but as the Dean outlined, they did a wonderful job of making sure we were as safe as possible, and that was comforting and allowed us to do the work that was at hand. The major issues that we were faced with when we went up there were elections, because we had just finished that election and there were some issues with that, hate crimes, of course COVID was out in the forefront, and then the budget. And the budget was incredibly important. We were able in the budget process to take care of several needs in the Columbus area. We have residential treatment facilities for children that have been mistreated, and they actually receive their education in those homes where they reside, and the money had been cut, and we were able to get that funding restored for groups like the Ann Elizabeth Shepherd Home and Twin Cedars. We also were able to get funding for the local cancer coalitions, not at the same levels that they are used to, but at least at a level that they can maintain the practice, because even though COVID is a serious disease, cancer is too, and it didn't stop just because COVID came to town. there were other things in the budget. Those were a couple that I can remember off the top of my head that were really important to two major entities in Columbus that we worked on. And the other one I'll leave for Representative Hugley, but I was really proud that we were able to address the fact that we have mothers in our state that die postpartum after they've delivered their babies, and we were able to get some funding for that. And I'll let her expound on that some because she worked on it, but it was great work and needed to be done. So all in all, we did the usual work of the budget and taking care of other hot topic issues. We had people from the elections office go and talk about some of the issues they had that they hope would be corrected and fixed in November. And hopefully we did good work with the constraints that we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Representative Buckner, for that update. We very, very much appreciate that. Next, I'd like to call on Senator Ed Harbison. Ed Harbison is with us, and Senator, thank you for being with us this morning, and the floor is now yours. You're gonna have to unmute yourself.
Let's make sure, are we unmuted now?
You're
Thank
on.
you very much. Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here with you this morning to give you a report about some of the things happening in our General Assembly. Of course, as Representative Smyrer said, the big deal was the COVID, dealing with that. We've never dealt with that before. I don't think anybody has done that before, but it was a rough situation, but we managed it and we handled the state's business in a very, very meaningful way, I believe, and tried to get it done and get out of there, and I think we did a pretty fair job. Militarily, you know, we got something like 700,000 veterans in the state of Georgia, and that is one of the things that I always take a look at. We accommodated military active duty people who have spouses and they go in and out of the state of Georgia. We're making sure that those persons holding medical licenses or something in the healthcare area, they will be accommodated more easily now, just as we've done in the past with the children of our military veterans who go from state to state, like Alabama to Georgia or Massachusetts to Georgia. We're part of the interstate compact that says if your child does not have the papers that they need in order to matriculate in our system, that we will accept the casual information until the official papers catch up. That kind of thing makes Georgia one of the best states in the United States of America for being a military-friendly state. We're continuing on that path. There are several dozens of bills that we deal with every year in that category, and I certainly champion those. The Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame came to the Capitol during our regular session to deal with, last year, to deal with our induction ceremony. So there's that spirit that we support our military, and that permeates throughout the state of Georgia, that we support them. We appreciate what they do. Right now, you got the National Guard people on guard and doing various things. As a matter of fact, some of the people in various aspects of the General Assembly and the Senate, I know some of the people have suggested that we expand the use of our National Guard to accommodate the backlog, the log jam that is representing the employment department right now. A lot of people are hurting out there, small businesses. I know we all spoke to several members of our delegation, and we all
It appears that Ed got locked.
having property to go out of business. So we want to make sure we deal with that as well. I just want to expand to that because it contained a component of the possibility of the Georgia National Guard as well. So we appreciate that and keep that in mind, and I think we'll get that together. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Harbison. Senator Harbison works on a lot of our veterans issues for the delegation, and also he chairs the State Institution and Properties Committee in the Senate, and we appreciate that update. Also, I wanted to mention that Representative Buckner, when we talk about with her, mostly we talk the issues of ways and means, taxation and natural resources, and we appreciate her leadership in that area as well. Next is Representative Carolyn Hugley, who serves on the Rules and the Appropriations Committee and is also on the subcommittee of the Appropriations on Community Health. And so at this time, I'd like to call on State Representative Carolyn Hugley. Representative Hugley.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to join the Chamber of Commerce, and let me extend my welcome to Mr. Mitchell. Welcome to Columbus. We look forward to your coming here. We read all the wonderful things about why you were selected, and we're just excited. I also want to extend my good morning to Mayor Henderson. We thank you for being on the call as well. It's my honor and my privilege to serve with one of the finest delegations in the General Assembly, the Columbus delegation. And as Representative Buckner alluded to, that elections, hate crimes, and the budget were those things that loom very heavily over this session that we just completed. And it was quite a challenge in this COVID-19 environment to conduct business in that format. The thing that I want to put forward this morning is maternal mortality. We had a maternal mortality study committee because the state of Georgia leads in the worst way. Mothers are more likely to die from childbirth here in the state of Georgia than almost any place else in our country. And so we took on this challenge, and one of the things that we did in response was House Bill 1114. And House Bill 1114 allows us to move the coverage for mothers postpartum under Medicaid from 60 days to 6 months. So we go from 2 months to 6 months. The study committee recommends a year, and hopefully we will move toward that year. But this is very important that we're moving to 6 months. It's a $19.7 million budget item that we were able to include in spite of the challenges that we face, because we have to have healthy mothers in order to have healthy children, and we got to have healthy citizens in order to move our economy forward. So we're very pleased that we were able to do that. The statistics tell us that African-American mothers are 3 to 4 times as likely to die as it relates to childbirth. And those of our citizens, women in rural areas, are about twice as likely to have unfavorable outcomes. So this is very important to our citizens here in this particular region. In addition, the budget restores $1.5 million in cuts to other maternal mortality prevention goals. So we're very pleased that we continued along this path to help our mothers. Another thing that we see in our budget is that the cuts were restored to Mercer Medical School and the Morehouse School of Medicine, and we're very, very pleased with that because both have footprints here in Columbus, and their operating grants, the total restored was some $4.2 million. So this is huge for healthcare in our state, and so we're delighted with that. And of course, funding to fund the Mercer School of Medicine here in Columbus was a very important part of the budget as well. So we are excited to be back home. We want our citizens to remember that COVID-19 is real and it's affecting the way that we do business. I am sitting now behind a sneeze guard here in my office, and we've done other modifications as other businesses have done in order to service our clientele and our customers while keeping our employees safe. So the Chamber, I know, is leading the way with those efforts, and we look forward to engaging with you all to help us do what we can to support our businesses during this difficult time. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to yield the floor back to you and thank everyone for the opportunity to serve the citizens of House District 136.
Thank you, Representative Hugley. Well done and much appreciated. And now I'd like to call on Representative Richard Smith. Of course, Richard is involved heavily in our budgetary process and in the leadership of the House, and serves probably on as chair of one of the most important, not the most important committee of the House, which is the Rules Committee, which is the gateway to the Georgia House of Representatives. So Chairman Smith, the floor is yours, and we appreciate your service and your leadership. Representative Smith.
Thank you, Calvin. It's, you know, we're very fortunate that with our delegation that we work so closely together as it revolves around issues that impact Columbus. I couldn't ask for a finer group of people to work with in that respect. Gerald, I think you're going to find out once you get here and you've had a chance to sit down and talk with the delegation, you know, our number one concern and priority is Columbus. We love this community, and it's been a blessing. I know it's been a blessing to me and my family since we moved here. Calvin had mentioned or asked me to talk a little bit about a couple of items, primarily the Mercer School of Medicine. I met with them Tuesday of this week, and from what I understand or what the plans are, that there'll be a groundbreaking sometime the end of August for the new facility. Now that's important because with the groundbreaking the end of August, the anticipated date of that particular facility opening is January of 22. So we're looking at a year plus a few months before that facility will be open. But our first year students, and you know, they don't like to be called freshmen, they're first year students, will start school the fall of next year, and they will move into their the new school facility on January of 2020. You know, a lot of these projects don't just happen overnight. I remember the first time we went and met with Mercer was, I believe, on August the 11th, 2008. So, you know, this project has been in process for a long time. And you know, you ask, why is this so important? Well, you know, the city of Macon has over 130 more doctors than Columbus does. And there's some communities south of us who have 0 doctors of any kind, no pharmacies, and in some cases they may have to drive 30, 40, 50 miles just to find a pharmacy or a doctor. And a lot of you specialty type physicians, you know, you got to drive to Columbus or Albany or Macon or someplace like that to find a facility or a doctor that will address a particular need. So one of the goals here for this school is to help provide students for these doctors for these underserved areas. I don't know if everybody knows this, but Mercer Med School only takes students from Georgia. And one of the things they look at is the zip code where that child is from when they start going to school. Because I tell you, I'm in Atlanta right now. There's a bill signing ceremony this afternoon at 2:30. And by the way, one of the bills that's being signed is one that Representative Hugley worked on very hard about maternal mortality, House Bill 1114. It'll be signed this afternoon at 2:30 by the governor. But, you know, when we look at those students from Southwest Georgia and we look at their zip code, now, who do you think would be more apt to move to Southwest Georgia? You got this kid up here in Buckhead, up here in North Atlanta, that was born with a silver spoon in his mouth in some cases. You know, if he or she went down to Southwest Georgia, I don't know how happy they'd be. But if you got a kid who's from that area, who knows the area, who enjoys that kind of lifestyle, who has family, friends and all, they're much more apt to go and stay. So, and that's what we're looking for, is to get some medical doctors in Southwest Georgia or south of us. And that is key on some of the things that we have to do. Like I mentioned, we're also having a bill signing ceremony this afternoon at 2:30. And there'll be 8 healthcare bills signed this afternoon. Healthcare has been a major issue for this House for the last several years, and it will continue to be a major issue for Georgia. There's too many issues out there like maternal mortality that really need to be addressed and addressed thoroughly. That takes time, it takes money, and it takes physicians, and it takes education. There's all kinds of things that go into addressing a particular issue like that. But one of the 8 that I am particularly excited about is House Bill 888. That is the surprise billing legislation. That takes the consumer or the patient out of the mix between the billing by a provider who's not in insurance network and the insurance company. They have to submit, each one has to submit their own, if it's a provider, they have to submit what they feel like they need to be paid. The insurance company says based on what everybody else around the area for the same procedure is being paid, so that's what we recommend. And then they give it to an arbitrator, and it's kind of like baseball arbitration. You have the doctor's recommendation on what they should be paid. You have the insurance company on what they think they should pay. And the arbitrator has to select one of the two. There's no negotiation in between. So it's probably one of the cleanest methods I know of. And if you look at the concept of that, when you have that kind of concept, after a while, both sides will learn, you know, I'm either charging too much or not enough, or the insurance company said, you know, I'm paying too much, or I'm not paying enough. And it won't take but a couple of cases like through arbitrator, I think, to get this figured out. One other item I would like to mention is I think our chairman there has mentioned, and I think Debbie mentioned also, is Department of Labor issues. When you have people and the number of people that we have unemployed, and all of a sudden, you know, under normal circumstances, it takes about a month to have something processed. Then it jumped to a month and a half. I bet now it's probably 2 months due to the number of people that are filing unemployment. So, you know, we've got to get that addressed, and we got to get it addressed pretty quickly. Because you talk with people, and I talked to a lady the other day. She's about to be evicted, and she has 2 young kids, and her unemployment checks have not come in. So, you know, these are kind of things that we have to work with, and but I'm real serious. We really need to get that particular problem solved. Calvin, I'm going to turn it back to you now.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate that. And in closing, I want to again thank the chamber and welcome Mr. Mitchell. And in fact, I want to say that Billy Blanchard and his group, they did a marvelous job. And Gerald, we're mighty happy to have you in our community. I also want to thank Bill Dudley, who has assisted us as a delegation and with this call as well, and Amy Bryan and Brian Stiletto, and of course, Pace Halter. We appreciate all of y'all's leadership. One of the couple of things I wanted to mention before we close out is that we did 2 things as a delegation. We presented 2 resolutions honoring the life and service of Congressman Jack Brinkley, and we got an interchange name up near the J.R. Allen Parkway, and we're working on trying to get that. Reverend Smith is working with the family, and we're trying to get that on track sometime later this year and get that dedication done. And then the other one is former Representative Albert Thompson, who served in the House many years ago and was a stalwart and attorney here in our community, and was first African American chair of a House committee, and we looking at a bridge on 2nd Avenue near Old Shady Grove Baptist Church, and bridge in his honor there on 2nd Avenue. So those are 2 things that we presented on behalf of the delegation for those 2 individuals that are from Columbus. And a couple other issues. Of course, the hate crime was one that was mentioned, and the delegation were always involved heavily in that piece of legislation. It's historical. we're not going to tolerate hate in Georgia. And now you won't ever hear again that Georgia is one of the 4 states without a hate crime bill. Now there are only 3 states without a hate crime bill, and Georgia's off of that list. Also want to mention the COVID-19 business liability protection bill that the chamber was highly interested in, and of course that passed. And we heard from the chamber of some of the members in regards to that piece of legislation. Also, the military spouses liability protection bill, of course, was one that also in the sales tax online marketplace. So those were some of the issues that we dealt with that were mentioned on the chamber's list. And I want to thank the members of the delegation for their input this morning on action items that we dealt with in the Georgia General Assembly. All of the members of this delegation are very much impact players and involved in the legislative process. And once again, I want to mention that we work closely together as a delegation, and we look forward to continuing our relationship with the Columbus Chamber and with the City of Columbus and Mayor Henderson and all the members of the Columbus Consolidated Government. So with that, Brian, that's it from the delegation, and we're happy. I know it's almost time for the call, but we're delighted to be here, and thank you all again for the invitation to be with you.
Thank you, Representative Smyrie, and also the members of the delegation. We do have time for maybe one question, and I was going to ask you about Senate Resolution 841 that didn't make it to the finish line this year. This revolves around casino gambling and horse racing and sports betting in Georgia, and I wanted to see if you could spend just a moment telling us about your all's take on that. And I know that that was a topic that a lot of folks, not only in Columbus, but across the state, were interested in. And then specifically here locally, the arts organizations who felt that casino gambling would impact theater and productions. Could you spend just a moment telling us kind of how that thing didn't make it across the finish line, and maybe what to expect in the future?
Well, that would take us the rest of the day, but I'll shot at it, and then I'll let the senator chime in because it's a Senate bill. But this is a 5-year effort, and it's been around for 5 years, and this is an election year, and that makes it kind of hard. It makes it an uphill pull. But I actually thought sports betting might have made it this session, but it did not. And but designated resorts is an arena that a lot of people are pushing for, just to give the people a right to vote, and then we will go from there on a statutory bill. And of course, the members of the City Council would also have passed a resolution, and they have already stated they would, if a casino was passed, then there would be a local referendum as well, and the people in this city or any other city would have to vote locally as well on it. In addition to the Constitution Amendment, that it'll be a referendum locally. So that is that's an issue that still is confronting us and before us. It's a major economic boon and revenue source for the state. We do know that there were some issues with our performing arts centers and others across the state that were concerned about it because of the competition in the entertainment industry. So that would have been a bridge we would have had to cross if it had passed. So with that, I'm gonna lateral the ball to Senator Harbison and just give us a quick tenor on the Senate.
Yes, thank you, Dean. We appreciate that. Your take is on target. I don't think that was an appetite point from some members. As you mentioned, the key thing that it is a constitutional amendment, and the Senate, it requires 38 votes, and you just didn't have that appetite for it right there. Although you had a very competent sponsor Beach is working it. We worked it together. We talked about it. And it's just some people have different takes on it from different parts of the state, as you know. And they are just sort of, for various reasons. It may be along the lines of religion. It may be along the lines of competition from other sources that don't want that kind of competition coming in and spoiling their ball game, so to speak. So it's a lot of water to tote, so to speak. But I believe that sooner or later, because the sports betting part of it is more digestible, I think that will get across the finish line first. I believe that. And perhaps it will come along then. But I just believe right now, it's just people are a little timid about it. But I think there's a fairly good chance. I think there's a fair chance that it could be looked at again. You and I both know it takes sometimes a decade to pass bills. As you know, you deal with the flagging, deal with the lottery, that kind of thing. People didn't want the lottery. They just did, oh, it's gambling. But the bottom line now, people find it more attractive when they put that component about education and the benefits for education in it. I think that sooner or later, it will get to a point where we can take small bites out of it and digest it so the public will be more accepting, but more importantly, that the senators and the representatives will be more acceptable to embracing it and let it cross the finish line. And let's look at, even if it's an experimental year of that kind of thing, look at it and then make a decision about how to proceed from there. But I think it's not completely shut down. I think this is going to be coming back for the next couple of years at least.
Anyone else? No, I think that's it for the casinos right about now.
Well, I do want to thank you all for stepping up and responding to that question. I know it's controversial, but it is going to be one to keep an eye on in the coming sessions. And
no
we want to thank Senator Harbison and Representative Carolyn Hugley, Representative Debbie Buckner, Representative Richard Smith, and of course you, Representative Smyrie, for joining us today for this Columbus Delegation Legislative Wrap-Up. We talked about doing more of these in the future, and we look forward to using technology to kind of connect folks who want to hear firsthand from you all on issues and things that they are worried about, concerned about, and really want to be involved in. So we want to thank you for that. And I do want to remind those of you watching who would like to participate in other events that we have going on to follow us on the Chamber's Facebook page or also on our website, columbusgachamber.com, so that you can be in tune with more of our upcoming events. Again, we want to say hello and welcome to Gerald Mitchell. We look forward to you joining us, sir. And yes, Calvin, did you want to?
I saw the mayor light up there, and I just wanted to. I see he's on now, and we can see him. And I just wanted, as a matter of courtesy, with the delegation, and if we could just let the mayor say a word or two, because
absolutely, Mayor Henderson
and his legislative team, Clifton of Fay, and City Manager Isaiah Hugley, and the members of the City Council. So we're preparing our legislative report to them now as a delegation. Mr. Mayor?
No, thank you, Dean. I'll be very brief. Just want to thank, of course, the Chamber for organizing this opportunity, and really want to tell you and all our delegations as well. I think sometimes we take for granted how closely and successfully you work on our behalf, and we shouldn't, because throughout the state, there's not many other communities that enjoy the type of representation that we have in our delegation. We're so grateful for what you do every day. Gerald, I think you're going to really enjoy getting to know the members of this team, and I think you'll find that they are a tremendous asset in helping you become successful in your new endeavors. And again, welcome. We're excited to have you on board. One thing I can't let this esteemed group get away without mentioning how much we appreciate your efforts throughout the session, and even not in session, it allowing us an opportunity for local input. And I would urge you to continue, if you have an opportunity, to mention to the governor's office. I've spoken with his office twice last week,
and just remind him that as a border city, with regards to some of the pandemic and some of the tools that we're looking at, different cities attempting to use to keep their citizens safe, I would encourage you to continue to remind him that local input, I think, is critical as we continue to try to address this. So I won't go any deeper politically than that, but I greatly appreciate all of your input and everything you do for Columbus.
We got that subliminal message. We got it.
I thought you might.
Thank y'all very
Thank you.
much, Brian.
Thank you, Mayor Henderson. Thank you once again to the delegation. Thank you, Dean Smyrie, for joining us today. Thank you all for being with us. We hope that you will try to join us again when we do this in the future. And stay safe and be well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.